Hi, my name's Phil. I like to talk about politics, and in this video I'd like to discuss some of the adapting positions for the various political parties to the realignment of Trump's America away from Europe towards Russia, including that of Reform UK, with Nigel Farage all over the place with his statements recently. Even the person officially tasked with producing the newsletter for the party has had to admit he's got no idea what Reform UK's policies are anymore. But first, for daily political commentary, please hit the subscribe button to stay notified. So, Parliament today had a few points of interest where our relationship with the USA is concerned. But let's kick off with one party which didn't actually ask a question in PMQs. I don't know if they were just not interested today or weren't invited to do so. But Nigel Farage is struggling to match his own allegiance to the Trump-Putin axis with what's politically sensible in the UK. Reform UK MP Rupert Lowe had recently called JD Vance a hero, which went down like a bucket of cold sick after Friday and Monday, culminating in Keir Starmer opening up PMQs today, completely unprompted, to reflect on the lives lost by British service personnel whilst fighting with America. Now, he made the statement in relation to an anniversary this week. That was clearly contrived. It was a clear enough statement that the UK government not impressed by Vance's behaviour on Monday any more than it was with his Friday performance. But what about Nigel Farage? He's had to go a little bit quiet in the last few days on this issue. His last statement was a hope that Starmer can bring Trump and Zelensky together. Gone are the attacks on the government now. Gone is his claim that he would be doing a better job. Just a vaguely supportive comment, and then time to talk about farming. Farming in Britain, that is. Not the bombed out agriculture in Ukraine caused by the brutal dictator he has praised and defended for many years, even after the full-scale invasion. So has Reform UK changed its policy on Ukraine? It's very hard to say. And if you won't take it from me, what about Jack Parker? He is the young senior editor for Reform UK's newsletter. Yesterday he tweeted, "Can someone who is active within Reform UK get in touch with me and let me know what the party position is on Ukraine? I really can't keep up with Nigel Farage." A single tweet which tells us a few things about Reform UK. First, there is clearly no direct contact between the party leadership and the producers of their official newsletter. And being clear, this is an official newsletter. It's not like a fanzine. Second, someone whose job it is to present what Reform UK stand for to the public doesn't know what Reform UK stand for on the massive political issue of the current time. Three, that someone charged with comms for Reform UK thinks that Nigel Farage's positions are changing too quickly to pin down. Now, if he doesn't know what the official position is, how are voters, how are ordinary members of the public supposed to know? So anyone trying to claim that Reform UK's position is clear here is deluding themselves. Even their own media team are effectively saying they don't know. But what about other parties? So I discussed yesterday how several Tories, quite a few actually, including the Shadow Defence Secretary, attacked JD Vance over his comments about the British and French armies. Badenoch tried to defend Vance by repeating his own defence, which was essentially, "Oh no, I didn't mention them by name. No, you were referring to countries that said they would put troops on the ground in Ukraine," which is Britain and France. So yeah, you didn't have to use the words, mate. But anyway, maybe we could chalk that up to Badenoch trying to be diplomatic, not getting it quite right. But there was another interesting little exchange. So this happened a few days ago, really. So Alicia Kearns, a junior shadow minister, had publicly called into question whether Trump's state visit should be put on hold until we're sure he's an ally. Badenoch had to rebuke her for that one, and the Tory whips have been reminding shadow ministers to be a little bit careful with what they say about national security matters. But what is emerging from the Conservatives' position? Well, Badenoch's first question at PMQs was to ask what Starmer is doing to bring America and Europe closer together. Now, you could easily let this slide as a fairly benign opening question, but this is the full fat extreme Tory Brexit party here. If it was a Lib Dem question, you would think, yeah, it's just an opening question. This is from Brexit Central. The party which Boris Johnson moulded into his own image, whereby cozying up to America and getting drunk with Russian agents was the way forward, and keeping European leaders at 10-foot barge pole distance was absolutely essential. But times are changing. The Tories seem to be accepting that Europe is the continent on which we live, and when push comes to shove, an attack on one is an attack on all. even commenting on Starmer working closely with Europe, would have been unthinkable a month ago unless you were going to attack him for it. Now, Badenoch is not only implying that she wants him to do it, but to keep her updated on progress. But there wasn't very much else from her almost exclusively supportive questions until it got to the last one on farming, to judge her party's official position. She seemed concerned about the reported US block on sharing intelligence with Ukraine, but her concerns were mostly around the UK getting drawn into direct conflict with Russian forces rather than prioritising Ukraine's safety should the USA fully align with Russia. Ed Davey for the Lib Dems, who has been saying what a lot of MPs across all parties have been thinking, taken advantage, I think, of the fact he's important enough to ask these questions, but not in a position to cause a diplomatic row by being too frank. So he wanted to know if the Prime Minister still thought the US was a reliable ally, and what is our plan B if not. Now, Starmer did say he did believe the US was a reliable ally. Maybe Davey should have asked about Trump specifically, although I doubt he would have got a clear answer to that one. There was no mention of a plan B, because that would be to openly admit that we have our doubts about America. But there will be a plan B, as well as C, D and E, I imagine. Let's hope we don't need to find out what they are until the 20-year rule releases the records. Because the House of Lords, roughly the same, actually a little bit earlier, had a sobering comment on the same matter. Now, being clear, Starmer said nothing to confirm that the US had indeed told us not to share certain intelligence with Ukraine, but he didn't deny it either. So David Manning, he, as a former ambassador to the United States during George W. Bush's time, he talked about some of Trump's appointees in key jobs having what he calls strange track records, who've said strange things about NATO and who seem keen on finding ways to appease Russia. He said in a situation like that, you do have a bit of an intelligence problem. And of course, the current diplomatic and security experts in government will be telling Keir Starmer and David Lammy this much more privately. Seems certain that there will be discussions about the reliability of sharing intelligence with the United States at the highest level, because there's no easy options. There's lots of people say, oh, we just need to cut them off. It's like, that's mad. Security experts constantly tell us the intelligence sharing between the UK and the USA is actually very powerful. It is, even today, actively preventing attacks on both of our countries, right? There are lots of people who try to organise attacks on us. We need to share intelligence. It's not a simple case of breaking it. It's unthinkable. So how do we manage to get the benefits of this intelligence sharing partnership whilst mitigating what must now be considered huge risks? That will be the question. I mean, Trump has sounded a more conciliatory tone after Zelensky's bridge building letter to him. But is that because it is possible to find a way to get Trump to at least give a reasonable level of support to Ukraine? Or because he's happy to be gracious when he thinks he can still have his mineral deal without giving anything other than vague assurances that Putin's actually quite a peaceful sort when you get to know him? You know, there's to be another coordinated diplomatic effort from Macron, Starmer and Zelensky. And even if that is successful in some acceptable way, there will still then be the small match of Trump's plan to bring down Western economies. That is how bad the situation we're in. I don't think any MPs asked about that today. But if we manage to work some diplomatic miracles and actually get Trump to sign the mineral deal with linked assurances to military support for Ukraine, in that best case scenario, we'll then have to turn to panicking about global financial meltdown. May you live in interesting times. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. If you've enjoyed the video, please click the like button and subscribe for further content. If you'd like to support the channel further, you can click the join button for memberships. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll see you later.